The views expressed in the following podcast have been given an $8 billion evaluation. They do not represent... looks like it's down to $2 billion. They do not represent the views of our employers, spouses... Wait, 800 million? Man, that fell fast. Spouses, friends, or sober...
200 million.
Wait, what? Geez, okay, or sober selves.
40 million. 5 million.
What the hell? Your mileage...
500,000.
Okay, can it wait till after the disclaimer?
What, you want me to not tell you? 250,000.
Your mileage may vary. You know, that's it. I quit.
1 million.
Welcome to Chew and Change. The people are real, the drinking is real, and the opinions, unfortunately, are also real.
On today's show, we welcome a special guest to talk about the world of nonprofit fundraising and where it stands in 2019.
But first, we discuss our favorite cryptocurrency story. The CEO of Quadria CX, Gerald Cotton, died from complications of Crohn's disease, leaving behind an encrypted laptop worth $350 million of Bitcoin. Unfortunately, he was the only one with the password. Enjoy the show.
Wait. That's it?
Well, yeah.
No skit? You're not even going to make fun of me for being a libertarian, despite the fact that we have two very business and economy-centric topics tonight?
Well, we've been a little rough on you lately. I figured you could use the break.
Wait. I don't trust you. What's your angle here, Tim?
I don't have an angle. We just need to start the show, that's all.
Is this one of those things where you're going to start saying outlandish things and provoke me into saying something dumb about being a libertarian? Because I'm getting a little tired of that.
No, it's like I said, we've been teasing you about the libertarian thing for a while and it's starting to get a bit stale.
You're not even going to try and trick me into saying something dumb like, I'm a libertarian. I think we should give toddlers guns to defend the free market.
Well, that would be a clearly ridiculous position.
Or I think we should revert back to the gold standard and create a system based on the Somalian model.
No, are you okay?
Or how about, I am sexually attracted to objectivism and have a freedom fetish. Real mature, Tim.
Well, no, nothing like that.
If you aren't going to take this seriously, I am out. Screw you. I'm taking my microphone with me.
Jeez, that was awkward. I didn't even get to break into the vasectomy jokes. Welcome to Chew and Change. This is Tim, and I am drinking a Johnny Walker Black Label with a bit of club soda. Now, normally at this portion, you get to hear Josh's dulcet tones, but apparently he's home. Something about pizza and a sick kid.
I'm going with food poisoning.
Yeah, I'm going to food poisoning.
I may or may not have arranged that. Yeah.
But in Josh's place, we're welcoming back Laura.
Hi, everyone.
What you drinking there?
I'm drinking... I looked at the bottle like 6 times before I came up here, but
gin.
It's gin, but it's like this juniper something gin from
Gilead.
From Gilead.
It's a Prince Edward County. I gonna say I'm not a huge fan. Like,
Blessed be the fruit. May the Lord open.
Just not my favorite. I don't think I'll bother this bottle again. I'll probably slam it down one night.
What fruit is gin made from? I actually don't know.
Juniper berries and stuff.
Yeah, it's made from botanicals.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's a very, like, it can be very...
It's like vodka and stuff.
Vodka and stuff. Vodka's made from potatoes, man.
Or
can be made from milk waste product. Just FYI.
True story.
What?
Yes, true
True
story.
say.
Yeah.
Today I learned. And this
Yes.
is Mike. I was drinking. Actually, you know what? I have finished liberating Tim from the remainder of his Liquorman's Old Dirty Canadian Whiskey. I polished off the rest of it tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, mixing it with Diet Coke. So now there's some space on your shelf there, Tim.
Okay, well, I guess we have to get that substituted.
Listeners, make some recommendations. What should Tim throw on his shelf?
Yay.
On his dime, of course.
And of course, I have to blindfold myself and be able to identify it in a taste test.
Love it.
Cool. Anyway, well, I guess you have to say what the show's about.
I do. So we are 3, sometimes a guest, and sometimes one of the 3 is not there, but that's okay. Laura, Tim, and I are here as 3 Canadian drinking buddies, 2 of whom are married.
We'll let you guess which 2.
Exactly.
Not
yeah.
it.
Yeah. We don't judge. Yeah, and we basically talk about our very different political views, and we have a good time because we have alcohol with it. Otherwise, we'd probably kill each other halfway through the show. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Tonight, we're actually talking about, in our first half, we're going to be talking about the cryptocurrency issue. So we're talking about Bitcoin.
Yep, and after that, we actually have a special guest because Josh can be here. I figured the next best thing would be my mom to stop in.
It's mommy.
Yay!
Mrs. Richard.
Aman-Hume, actually.
Who?
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I call her Mrs. Richard at your own risk. They've been divorced for quite a while.
Howbeit, I call her
mother-in-law.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, I think she'd like
I'll
that.
do that. That's good.
I think, so she's actually been in the world of nonprofit fundraising and marketing for over 30 years at this point. Worked for some fabulous world-class organizations, and right now she's out of Port Hardy. So we'll have her come on a bit to talk about nonprofit fundraising work in 2019, where it's sitting, how it's working with the current political climate.
Righto.
But first, we're going to actually be talking about a little bit about cryptocurrency. So I kind
And
of
the most rookie move of any company anywhere in the history of companies ever.
Yeah.
So who lets their CEO die of complications of Crohn's disease, realize after the fact that he had 350 million, I think it was 250 or 350 million dollars, 350 million dollars worth of Bitcoin encrypted on his laptop, and he was the only guy with the password. Like, who does that? How rookie is this company?
I think this is like something that should be a premise for like a real life Ready Player One, right? Like the first person to crack the laptop gets the money.
Right? I'm totally down for that.
That would be
Or
hilarious.
what's
but
that?
we need to have like hacker style battles, right? Like in the movie, like we need to like set up these crazy cafes and like have like these
Awesome.
I'm actually thinking something more like Weekend at Bernie's.
Sure.
Where they have to pretend he's alive.
Yeah.
No, I want hackers. It's cryptocurrency.
Maybe
Or
we can find a way
waking
to mesh
Ned
the two
Devine,
ideas.
or-
The two ideas can come together, I think. Yeah, like hackers and like a Bernie. This is
As long as the guy looks like Matthew Dillard or whatever his name is, I'm down. He's the tall guy with the roller skates.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
You have to
to say
use the
about-
word, and you have to use the word pooter.
Pooter.
Pooter. And Angelina Jolie, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Oh, she's had, of course. Yeah, naturally.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
not naturally.
Yeah,
Yes.
those were the most amazing hacking animations in that movie.
Right?
It's just like we got
Hacking
like Pac-Man chewing up computer bytes. It was great.
It's asking for a cookie. What do you do? Type cookie, because that's
Like,
how that works.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was like. Was
Never
there a
fear.
single
Eyes
person
and ears.
on the script writing
Who's
team
ever looked at
that had a
computer?
hot clue how computers worked?
Well, what was
Ew,
interesting.
hard copy.
What was interesting is I actually saw kind of a scroll away from the topic. There was a topic on CBC today talking about, this great new trend in hacking, social engineering. That's not new.
hacking, and it's not.
No, it's considered a form of hacking where you actually try and get people, and they actually did that in the movie Hackers, which is actually how they gained access to the system. One guy poses the IT guy, another guy dug through the trash to get like passwords and shit. This has been going on for a very long time. So social engineering,
Sure.
Everyone's like, oh no, it's brand new. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's been going, and it's one of those. Like, I mean, I remember hearing this one thing about how somebody, quote unquote, hacked into the CIA. That's how the news reported it. And basically, what happened was they DDoS'd the CIA's website.
Oh my God.
So there was like, they hacked into the CIA. No, it's like
Just so everyone knows what a DDoS attack is that basically someone
We have an expert here tonight.
sends a lot of traffic to a website and brings it down. That's
Yeah.
it. It's not like, and it's basically it's a diversion tactic.
Exactly.
right?
It's the vandalism version of tearing down a poster on a wall.
That's
Absolutely.
literally
Take that, society.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what a DDoS is, and it was amazing because all these people, the CIA got hacked.
No,
Like,
they
no.
tore down a poster in front of the wall in the CIA. That's what they did.
That's exactly what it was.
They
Yeah.
didn't get inside.
It was incredible.
Anyway, kind of going back to
Yeah.
to Bitcoin. Now, we did a cryptocurrency episode right when it was getting big, and obviously it's fallen. I think the latest stats thing's around 3,500 now.
What?
Yep,
I have not
3,500.
been following it. That's
Well,
terrible.
it went up from like 20,000
Yeah.
just a year ago, and now it's down to like 3,500, which means
That's a
yay,
buying signal, folks. No, it's not. No, it's not.
we can afford video cards again, so that's
Right.
the upshot.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think this is really just how crazy people got about cryptocurrency. I mean, the fact that some dude with a laptop at age 32 can have $350 million and such a loosey-goosey corporate structure that the whole company tanks because no one had his laptop password.
Like, and that's
I think
ridiculous.
that's an indictment
Yeah.
of how stupid the whole cryptocurrency thing is.
Well, the entire industry was absurd. Like, I remember hearing an analogy once where it's basically this idea that someone goes to the jungle in Africa and says, I will pay $100 for every monkey that you bring me. So everybody starts going getting monkeys for the guy. And then he says, I will pay you $200 for every monkey. Then I'll pay you $500 for every monkey. I'll pay you $1,000 for every monkey. And by that point, all the monkeys are in the cages, right? And then this guy leaves his assistant there and says, I'm going away for 3 months. And when I come back, I'm going to pay $2,000 for every monkey that you catch for me. So, but at that point, of course, there's no monkeys left. So the assistant who's left behind says, tell you what, I will sell you monkeys for $1,500 a piece, so that when the guy comes back, you can sell them back to him, and starts letting all the monkeys out of the cages for $1,500 a piece. Then the assistant runs off with the money, and nobody ever comes back. That's cryptocurrency.
That's pretty apt.
That's exactly how the entire industry is built. It's built on nothing. It has no value at all.
In fact, it's a big suck on resources because the amount of electricity it takes.
It's bad for the environment.
Yep.
It actually is.
What have they measured the carbon footprint of all the mining?
They actually have. Well, they can tell you how much electricity it takes to do the mining.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, problem is it's all over the world, so you can't point
Right.
to. But it takes about the same amount of energy as the country of Romania generate or consumes.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's incredible.
Global warming isn't real.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a hoax perpetuated by well, hang on. No, they don't call it global warming. It's climate change because it gets like colder in some places but warmer in other areas. Basically, it throws the weather off. Is basically how I understand it.
But the whole idea behind it is that the Earth is getting warmer, so it's global warming. Like climate change is a result of the
Well, right.
the
Earth is getting warmer. The problem is, it's global warming. The people on the other side panned it so much. Well, how come it's getting colder? Herder. So they had to start calling it something else. Is sort of long and short of it.
Semantics.
So climate change.
Yeah, or we could call it climate extremization. Wait, climate bipolarization.
Ooh.
There we go.
It's out. It's in. It's out. It's like this week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
climate change. So hot right now.
exactly. Yeah.
A guy could go over some of that global warming right now. It's so cold.
Isn't Donald Trump? He actually tweeted that. He's just like, we could use some good old fashioned global warming right now. He's in the middle of a deep freeze.
Which is like, you know why the deep freeze is here is because global warming.
Yeah.
It's like I heard, so it's like the analogy of like, so it's a seal around your freezer, right?
Yep.
Global warming pushed the jet stream to keep the Arctic air up.
Yeah.
That was the seal around the freezer.
Yes.
This was basically taking a knife and tampering with the seal. And all the cold air's leaking out.
Right.
So global warming is causing it to be fucking cold in the winter.
Yeah. How about that, right? Yeah.
How about
I mean,
that?
don't get me wrong. I actually do have some legitimate reservations about climate change, mostly because the people who are presenting all the models and everything about climate change, they do it so badly that they're just feeding the trolls on the other side who think it's not real. And they keep on playing right into their hands. I don't know why. If you know who Scott Adams is, he made the Dilbert comic strip.
He's a douche.
He is, but he wrote a blog post on his website once about how basically what the climate change people are doing wrong all the time, and he makes a number of really good points. Like if you read through what he says, just like, well, of course the deniers are getting more and more fuel every time the climate change scientists turn around and give them something else, because there are things that the climate change society could do better to better shut up the people who deny it.
But what job? They have one job, which is to report what's happening. They're scientists. They're not PR people and politicians.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, but like Wall Street in New York fucking flooded. Like, how is that not, hey, we're not doing anything good here, people. There's a freaking like island of plastic the size of Texas in the ocean.
Yep.
But it's what, like...
That's actually one of the things that Scott Adams points out is the fact that, on the one hand, the climate change experts keep on talking about how, the 1 year by the 1 year by the 1 year doesn't matter, which is why if you have a super cold winter, that doesn't mean that global warming is not happening. But then on the other side, they keep on pointing to things that happen once, like Wall Street flooding. And they're saying, see, here's an example. And they're using that same time, so it's like they're talking at both sides of or they talk out of both sides of their mouth that way all the time. And while I'm not saying that it's wrong, I am saying that it's very easy when you talk like that for the climate change deniers to lap that stuff right up. There's also the fact that these people have released a new model of how climate change is happening once every other year for the last 20 years. And these
because it's changing so much.
Well, that and as you do things and your computers get better.
Yeah.
You get better at things. You change.
Except
this is the difference between, I think, a lot of people who buy into the scientific method.
Yep.
That if they're wrong, present the evidence.
Yep.
They will go, sorry, we were wrong.
Exactly. But
on the other
exactly
side, it's like
point.
you start with the conclusion, and then you find premises to fit with the conclusion.
Yep.
They start with the premise, and the premise leads to the conclusion.
Right.
That is the difference in mentality. So cryptocurrency.
So cryptocurrency is bad for the environment.
Very bad.
It's going to make us all die.
Yes.
Just like...
but at least we'll all be .com thousandaires?
Thousandaires? Yeah, I guess so.
No.
Yeah, it's also a humongous bubble that's about to burst. I don't know. I feel like...
I think it's already popped. I think Bitcoin's here to stay, but it's going to be like a weird fringe commodity thing. It's not going to.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
So I was watching this documentary short series about the cocaine use in Britain, and apparently, like, it's insane over there. Like, it's crazy. And you go into the dark web.
The dark web. The deep web.
Yeah.
I'm going to tore into the onion while I hack the Gibson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Two of those things are actual things.
And apparently they use cryptocurrency to order, like, order Coke. And from this documentary. Obviously, it's skewed in some manner, but just like wham bam, thank you, man, just shows up in the what would be the equivalent to like Canada Post.
Yeah.
Just shows up.
Well, I think this is you're highlighting one of the big problems with cryptocurrency and why it's not spent.
Pays for child porn.
Well, there's that too.
And
But it's
sex
a
slaves.
deflationary currency is a big problem. You can't spend it on anything.
Right.
Because you're disincentivized to spend the money.
Yes.
It's why we don't have the gold standard either, because there's only so much gold.
Exactly.
There's only so many Bitcoins.
And that's exactly why when the FBI started talking about how this is the CIA, FBI, they were talking about how cryptocurrency is the next biggest threat to the national security of the United States because it's going to be used for terrorist financing. And even then I was just like, no, it's not. I was like, no. Even then I was just like, no, it's not. Because if you're a terrorist and you've got 5 Bitcoin on you, you're not going to buy a bomb this week because by this time a month from now you could buy 20 bombs because of what the
or
currency's
half
going
a
to
bomb.
do. Right? Yeah, but because of what Bitcoin's been doing, it's so volatile of a currency, its use is literally nothing but speculative investment. That's the only thing it's good for.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a quick break.
Already?
Yeah, I know. And we're going to test some Skype, and we will be right back.
Bingo.
I'm gonna go change my
You're listening to Two and Change. This is Tim.
Mike.
And Josh.
If you're enjoying the show, check us out at twoandchange.ca. There you can write a comment, check out our blog, and you can also find out why Mike is often wrong.
Or why Tim is always wrong.
Or why Mike is wrong.
Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the show. We'll see you soon. And welcome back from the break. So this week's WTF has the week off.
Sadly.
But, the news was just too... The real news was just too messed up.
It was.
Yeah.
State of the Union and all that. Maybe there's a whole topic in that later.
But we do have a special surprise. So joining us by phone is Elizabeth Aman-Hume, the executive director of the Port Hardy Chamber of Commerce. She has over 30 years of nonprofit fundraising and marketing experience. And she also happens to be my mother. So we were able to get her on a...
mother-in-law.
Yay. And we were also able to get her at the last second.
There you go.
Thanks, Mom.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, how's it going there in Port Hardy?
It's a little windy right now. I think I jinxed myself by sending pictures of my roses while you guys were having a polar vortex, and something, happened over here and it got below zero.
Oh.
I'm not sad for you. You realize that.
It got below zero. Like we're talking. Like how far below zero are you right now?
Well, I think it's -1.
Oh.
It's going to go down to -6 overnight.
Oh, well, yeah, that's cold, I guess, if you're not used to it.
I guess.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. We figured while we had you on the phone, I mean, it's, I guess I should call my mother every once in a while. You probably just didn't think it'd be a podcast.
Keep saying.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I think it's great that Tim calls his mom. And hello, Tim's mom. My name is Mike. You've never met me. I have no idea who you are. But I just heard a great review about you, so... Glad to have you on the show, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
I gave a glowing review.
Are you responsible for this guy across the table from me right now? Like you raised this?
Well, it depends on your opinion of this, but yes, you are seated across from my firstborn son, my only son.
Aw, like Jesus.
There.
Yeah.
I don't think he was an only child. No, he had siblings.
Yeah, he had siblings.
No,
Firstborn son.
Tim has siblings. He's the firstborn.
But I am God's gift.
Sure.
Yeah,
good thing I'm an
thought he
atheist,
was
eh?
God's gift. We thought we were very clever
There.
in producing such a child. He was very precocious when he was a child.
Well, maybe you can tell one of those precocious childhood stories as a bonus here, because I see Mike's eyes are lighting up.
Oh, they absolutely are. And we have the opportunity to embarrass Tim like never before. This is fantastic. Yeah.
Let's see if it makes to air. Anyway.
I'll think that through. So before we wrap up here, I'll
Brilliant.
see if I can come up with a good one.
Good stuff.
Sounds good. Okay, so question for you. I think we're more of a political show in many ways, or current events sort of show as well. as you know, in Ontario, we have a new Conservative government. Doug Ford, one of the first things he did was cut arts funding.
Yeah.
It seems to me every time a new government comes in, it yo-yos back and forth. Arts being cut, nonprofit support gets cut, raised. Is this something of a new pattern, or is it just sort of always been the case?
In my experience, it's always been the case. It just same, different day. I don't know if we're allowed to say bad words on here. So,
have
Mom?
you listened to the show?
I have.
Even though my mother's listening, you can fucking swear all you want. How about that?
You would say those words in front of your mother. Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
She taught me most of these words.
Oh, okay.
Tim, I'm not going to be able to share this with any of my friends or family if you say things like that.
There.
Fine.
But your husband, like, I'm sure he swears just as much as we do. Like, I'm sure you can share it with him.
Come on, I live with a truck driver.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about fundraising 2019, how it's particularly different or not different in 2019. We're wondering if you could shed some light on that.
Well, I think that some of the issues around it are the same. It doesn't really matter how long you're doing something. I think the climate seems to be, you want to score points. So when you have a group of people who feel that there's nothing to be valued, let's say in the arts, it's one of the first things to go, and you want to stick with your reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I think that it's actually a very dangerous road to go down, because these kids that are growing up in this era are faced with all sorts of challenges and uncertainties, and they're seeing more than I ever saw as a kid, and more than Tim ever saw as a kid. And I think having access to music or any other art form is a way that these kids actually learn how to be humans and learn how to interact socially, and they learn empathy, they learn about beauty, and that's just as important for these children as learning how to read and write, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. And you're a bit involved in the local music and art scene in Port Hardy as well, right?
Well, yes. I'm the chair of the North Island Concert Society, and even in our small town here, Port Hardy is on the northern tip of Vancouver Island, a town of about 4,000 people. And the Concert Society has been going strong for about 20 years. This is our 21st season. And it's quite amazing what a group of volunteers in a small town can pull together, and the caliber of artists that they bring in. And I think that part of the reason they're so successful, is because it's less complicated. It's not a political thing. But it is hard work, and it's run completely by volunteers and on a shoestring. And then sometimes I feel, as a former orchestra manager and arts person, that I wish that would change, because to be taken seriously, you kind of really need to have some kind of stability, some kind of budget. And every year, organizations like ours, and this is from large to small, have to, I don't want to say go begging for money, but you don't really know if you're going to be here next year, because you have to apply for your funding, you have to get your sponsors, you have to raise money. So it's not like another business where you can be fairly sure that you're going to sell those widgets next year and you're going to be able to do what you do. So I think in that regard, I wish that part would change, but it hasn't.
So I'll jump in here then, Mike here. I'll speak as the libertarian in the room, and I'll speak actually also from a personal perspective. I am someone who has also personally donated to the arts myself. And it's one of those things where, like, for those of us who believe in the total free market enterprise kind of thing, so the libertarians in the room.
I warned you, Mom.
Yeah. So I feel strongly that the arts are also a marketable resource, a marketable commodity. I agree that the hyper focus that we have on STEM education, which is actually, we've done a whole episode on that before, where that hyper focus is perhaps misplaced because it will teach you how to, for example, be a mindless automaton without any soft skills. So the arts are important, and as such, I personally donate to them. However, I also am of the opinion that the arts should be able to market themselves without government subsidies. And I'm wondering if you have an idea of the arts being able to market themselves. Like, is there a reason why the arts cannot fund themselves the way that, say, an engineering firm could without government assistance? Is there a reason why the public doesn't seem to value the arts as much as perhaps they should?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there's a tradition, and if you look at all of the orchestras and arts organizations across Canada, and I've actually managed several, they're nonprofits and they're also registered charities. Now, when you get into for-profit arts, things change a bit, because an arts organization that's a nonprofit registered charity has a mandate not just to put an orchestra on the stage and to play Brahms. They also have a mandate to do outreach, to do education, to be a resource to their community, and to provide opportunities for children and people maybe who don't have the means to experience the arts. So it's not a cut and dried, well, here's our product and here's the price. Because then you're going to find that the only people who can afford to go are the people who can afford the price of a ticket. And that's not really what these composers and artists intended when they created their art. When you do those extra things, it costs money. And, you're expected to do it. And especially, there was a town I lived in the U.S. a few years ago, and I was with the orchestra there. Well, they did cut funding for the arts. So the orchestra took over, and the orchestra went into the schools and brought in ensembles and gave music lessons and all sorts of things like that. So
that right there is a libertarian's wet dream. The government cuts funding, the private market steps in to fill the gap. That's.
But the orchestra is not a private market, though. It's a public. That's basically shifting around government spending by your logic.
I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like if the orchestra were privately funded, like if there were people like benefactors, and who would support the orchestra because they value the arts, I'm sure there are people out there who do. I myself have supported the arts myself in the past. I'm listed in the credits as an executive producer of a film. I've been there. I've done it.
Huh.
Yeah. It just tell me it's not scat porn.
It is not scat porn.
Rule 34.
Believe it or not, it is actually a fan film involving Star Wars. It was a privately done.
Oh, is it the kitten one?
No. It's a lightsaber fight. It's a lightsaber fight that was choreographed professionally.
Were your clothes on?
No. It was a lightsaber fight in the manner of Star Wars. It was done by Ryan Weber and Michael Scott, and they did like a lightsaber fight. And I watched their first one, and then they were asking for funds to make a second one. I was like, yes, here's $100, done. It was great.
Well, there's a bit of a difference between a private film though and something small scale versus what the size and scope of, say, an orchestra, though, right?
They hired an orchestra to do an original music score for that film.
Ooh, fun.
So it was a real project that was done. Ryan Weber has actually since gone on to do special effects work for the TV show Heroes. Yeah, but incredibly useful.
So you have organizations, arts organizations, and then you also have like professional orchestras. Now, an orchestra can be fully professional and have, a wonderful product, as people like to call it a product. It's the marketing thing to say.
Sure.
But they're still non-profit, and they're still a charity. So yes, there are benefactors in the community. You can't have an orchestra thrive without that. So any orchestra you see has those donors, has those businesses in the community that support them. And even here in Port Hardy, we have our local businesses and people that step up to not only donate but to give their time and talent to make it work. And I don't really have an answer to your question. Why is it set up like this? I've wondered about it myself, and I think there's. I don't know if it devalues the art because the government isn't supporting it. I mean, I had a very different experience when I was in Europe. The orchestras I remember sitting in a meeting with one of my counterparts in a UK orchestra, and her orchestra was fully funded.
By who?
And by the government.
That's actually interesting that you make that connection there, especially over in Europe, because in my knowledge of history,
that was a while ago.
Yeah, but in my knowledge of history, a lot of the arts, especially the ones that come out of Europe, when you go back to like feudal times, a lot of orchestras and arts like that were commissioned and funded by benefactors like lords of manors, kings, queens, dukes, duchesses. That was actually quite normal back then for a form of government to fund the arts. And if you go back through all of human history, that was actually more common than you might think. So in that sense, maybe the common person, what's different here is that we have a middle class that is now equipped to fund the arts, but never has historically done so.
Yeah, and I think if you look at, let's just take UK orchestras as an example, they have patrons, and they're usually, like you were saying, lords and ladies, Prince of Wales, the Queen of England. I mean, you have your royal patrons, and the people that have the money are generous with it. But I don't know how we would be able to take that to the next level and say, well, the government should fund it. I mean, I think you get a lot of pushback from people that don't value it. I mean, there's some people who don't even want to support playgrounds in schools because they don't have kids, So if somebody doesn't relate to Beethoven or, an opera that's being presented, well, why should I pay for that? I don't like that. I mean, and people actually say that. Well, why should I have to pay for this tax if I don't have kids? And I think people are missing the point on the greater good of the whole society.
Mm-hmm. So we're running short on time. So I just have one last question for you. We should probably give Laura a shot at this one too.
No, it's fine. I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you've been doing this a while now. What do you think has changed now versus what, just in terms of trying to wrestle money either out of the government or the people, or trying to get people to value more? Has something changed now versus, say, 20, 30 years ago when you first started?
Wrestle money.
Bad term.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I like that phrase. I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying, though.
I get what you're saying. I think that the players have changed, no pun intended, but the heart and soul of it has kind of stayed the same. There's people out there that love what they love, and they love this art form, and they love this orchestra, or they love this art gallery. And when they move on, let's say they pass on, somebody always seems to take their place. One thing I've noticed is that more young people are becoming interested in the arts, in the value of the arts. I'm not going to say, and I don't know when you say arts what that picture that puts in people's minds, but I think as when you look around sort of the general environment, the kind of I guess demographic and everything that you would experience with an arts organization, it's very similar to what it was when I started. I mean, we've got greater tools now. We have the ability to inform and educate. We can, go on Facebook, and we can have websites, and we can play videos, and there's so much more we can do in terms of engaging with audiences. So that would have changed. And I think when you're able to provide that sort of awareness and education, it does result in a greater interest and support for.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the segment. We'll just have to leave it there. Do you mind hanging out just for a little bit here? Because I think these guys wouldn't mind hearing a little story from my childhood.
Yeah.
I'll think of a good story. We've already told Hotfoot on your show.
Yes, we have. And that, of course, is Elizabeth Aman-Hume, my mother, but also the director of the Port Hardy Chamber of Commerce. But also, I feel like I'm like a serious radio host or something when I say things like this. Right? But anyway, we are out of time on today's show.
We are.
So I want to thank, of course, my mother and Laura for stepping in.
Yay!
Josh, we miss you. Come back.
Josh, we a little bit hate you for canceling like this, but that's okay. We'll welcome you back. Yeah, we hope you're feeling better, that your kids are feeling better, that the pizza wasn't poisoned like I arranged.
I'm jealous that you got to eat pizza.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that you will be welcome back in the studio as soon as you bring back a bottle of whiskey. How about that?
There you go.
Anyway, I just want to
it.
thank our listeners for sticking with us. Remember to continue listening to our show at twoandchange.ca. Read
out
our
our
blog. You can also check out Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, contributing writer Matt Ebel. Anyway, for Two and Change, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Laura.
We'll see you next time.
I had pizza for supper too, you know.
Really?
We haven't had pizza in a really long time.
No, we get drunk at pizza sometimes.
Drunken pizza, but that's so disappointing.
I feel like baked pizza would be more of a thing. Wouldn't that be a little more of a thing?
Well, pizza's always baked.
Yeah.
No. I mean, as in stoned, as in marijuana is legal. Smoke marijuana, order pizza.
We get drunk.
How did you guys not get
We
that?
don't really smoke.
I smoke, yeah. I guess.
I'm not a smoker. I like to try it.
That's what we're talking about tonight. Tonight, we're actually talking about, in our first half, we're going to be talking about the cryptocurrency issue.
Absolutely. Then later than that, we're going to... Sorry. Quick break here.
Oh, Mama's here?
Give me a sec here.
Mama.
I killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled the trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and
It's copyrighted, we can't do it.
all away. Mama.
Okay, let's get on with it.
Ooh, didn't mean to make you cry. All right.
All right, cool.
So we're talking about Bitcoin.